guys like that B-roll at the beginning of this video. It was taken a while ago because it most certainly is not raining here. It's actually a beautiful day with the sun shining, about 80 degrees. But you know, there's just something about rainy day weather that just, it's like a whole vibe, it's a whole mood. I have been letting my hair just run free, girl, minus my bangs. But the rest of my hair has not had any heat treat, no chemicals, no silicone, no parabens, none of that. And it's enjoying itself, clearly. So I just finished filming here in my nook because I just finished the May video for the SOULFLOW Collective, which is my monthly membership community. It's only $14.99 a month. If you really want to connect with your soul, spend more time with your soul, this is the community for you. You can find the link in the description box below. But May's theme is activating your light body. We're going into an in-depth guide of the chakras. And it is by far, I feel like I say this about every month's theme, but it is by far my favorite theme so far because the chakras, healing the chakras, unblocking the chakras, that was the first thing that I did when I dove into my spiritual journey. And it's a practice, my #1 practice, that I still do to this day. So I feel like I could talk about it for hours and hours, which I pretty much do in the video and the meditation, the affirmations, and all of that for the month of May. But it was really fun to film. I'm excited to edit that. I'll be doing that later on this evening. My arm is hurting, so I need to set this down. Will this work? Is it too dark? Is this too distracting? I don't know. We're gonna go with it. This is such an awkward angle. It's fine. So what is going on for this video? Well, I think it's going to be vlog style based on the fact that I'm not in my office sitting there ready to give you all some tips. But on Instagram, I posed a question to you asking if you wanted me to talk more about how to manage or balance multiple writing projects at one time, because I have been writing 2 books basically at the same time. And a lot of you were like, yes, this is something I need because, you know, shiny idea syndrome, and I just have multiple books that I want to work on at the same time, and how can I do this and not feel confused by what I'm working on or have enough energy to be able to work on both book projects. I'm realizing that I sat down here, but I need to go into my office anyways. So yeah, I'm gonna be editing that video. Like I said, I have interview questions that I need to answer in an email. There's like quite a few of them actually, I think like 20. So I should probably get started on that. And then I will be writing some words. Camp Nano is going really, really well. I adjusted my target or my goal for 1 manuscript because again, I've been working on 2 at the same time. So originally my goal said 50,000, but really for the 1 manuscript I'm working on, it's 30,000. And then it's another like 25,000 for the second one. So yeah, anyways, so I've been kind of adjusting and playing around with those different numbers, but it's been going really well. And this draft for the 4th book in the Shadow Crown series is really coming along. Like, I'm really, really happy with it. I think of all the Shadow Crown books I've written so far, this one is just, you know, because it's the 4th book and there's going to be 6 books in the series. So this is where things really start getting juicy, and a lot of the subplots, all those plot points that I've been dying to reveal, like some of these twists and what's actually going on, it's finally being revealed in book 4. And so I will be talking more about Jaded Spring and when I'm planning to release that, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna be this year, which is super exciting. And then that 4th book may be releasing sooner than waiting, you know, the usual year in between books. So it's just really, really exciting. Denali just woke up. Hi, you want to come here? Hi. Want to say hi to everybody? Say hello. Hello. We went camping the other day and you got into something you weren't supposed to get into and I had to give you a bath. Huh? That is what happened. You matched the tile. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I've been cooking for both of us recently. She's very spoiled. Clearly. All right, the lighting is probably gonna be all over the place, but I'm gonna go ahead and clean up this area, and then we are going to head into my office. It's a big stretch. Can I sit in my chair? Pretty please? Please excuse the lipstick marks on my water. Scared me for a minute. I plugged it in and they didn't turn on. Okay, so now that we are in my office, let's go ahead and talk about my first tip when it comes to writing 2 books at the same time. The first thing I do is I choose a primary of the project. So maybe you have 2 projects or 3 book projects that you want to work on. I always choose my primary book project. And if you're like, well, I want to write them all, that's totally fine. You can write all of them. We have time. We're here. We're in quarantine, right? But my primary writing project is always the one where I think to myself, I would really like to get this draft written. I would really like to get this book written. Or maybe your primary project is one that's on deadline because you're wanting it to go on submission. Or maybe it's a part of a series. That's kind of where I've been at lately. So with the Shadow Crown series, that book project, whichever one I'm writing next, tends to be my primary project. So really, when it comes to all of your writing projects, when you really think about it, there usually is one that just feels like it should be prioritized. And so that's the one I go with. That's the one I make my primary project. That brings us to our second tip, because you have your primary project and you have your secondary project. So now we need to set targets for both manuscripts. And this usually includes something like the total word count or the total number of pages that you would like to write for each project. And if you have the luxury, I would recommend playing around with deadlines, being really flexible with your deadlines, again, if that's something that you can do, because that's gonna give you a little bit more leeway, a little bit more wiggle room to be able to work on both of these projects at the same time without the potential for burning yourself out. So for example, I think I said this earlier, but my target overall for one of my manuscripts in the Shadow Crown series was 30,000 more words on top of the draft that I had already written. And then for my second project, the goal is 25,000 words. And those numbers are just based on what's going on with the current drafts, what I need to do, what I need to rewrite and revise. And those numbers, those targets are also based on my deadlines and when I would like to have the book finished, or at least have that first draft completed. And then my third tip, I guess we're just gonna do them all right now since we're in the zone and we're talking about it, is to then set daily targets for each one of your manuscripts. It is super, super helpful if you know your average word count per day. More importantly, if you know how long it takes you to write a certain amount of words. So I know on average that I tend to spend between 3 to 4 hours a day writing, and especially during quarantine. So before quarantine, I would say it was maybe only 1 to 2 hours per day writing, but I've been able to extend that more because it's quarantine, people. I don't know. I also know my average word count for an hour tends to be anywhere from 800 words to 1,000 words. And that's really just a combination of my typing speed and how quickly I can get the thoughts and the ideas and all of the imagination out of my head and onto the page. You may write 400 words in an hour, or maybe you write 3,000 words in an hour. I have no idea, but I know that my range is between 800 and 1,000 words per hour. So knowing that means I can then break up my daily targets in multiple ways for each one of my projects. So if I write 1,000 words an hour and I'm writing for 3 to 4 hours a day, that means I can split it evenly and I can do 2 hours, 2,000 words a day for book project 1, and then I can do 2,000 words, 2 hours a day for book project 2, and that would equal 4 hours for the day. Or if I'm wanting to write more for my primary project, then maybe I would write for 3 hours for that specific book project and get down 3,000 words, but my secondary project is I only work on it for 1 hour and I get down 1,000 words. If you don't know your writing speed, you can always guess, or maybe you don't want to do it by words, but you want to do it by pages, like how many pages you can write in an hour. You can always either guess, or you can use a stopwatch and actually time yourself, or use something called the Forest app, which I know is available on iPhone. I have no idea if it's available on Android, but I use the Forest app because I love that it tracks my productivity and it helps me to see how long I've stayed focused for each month, each week. Really breaks it down. Not to mention they plant a tree every time you plant a tree in your own little forest. So we're helping the earth. And my fourth and final tip is the kicker, which I don't think many people do this or think about this, which is why going to write a project or working on multiple projects seems like such an overwhelming task and kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. There's not enough time. It's just, it's so much, right? I have implemented something called segment blocking, and it has been everything when it comes to working on 2 projects at one time. So what is segment blocking? I like to think of my day, not just writing, but my whole day in segments. So everything that you do, anytime you move from one activity to the next activity, that is a segment. So when you wake up, that's a segment. And then when you go eat breakfast and have your coffee or your tea, that's a segment. When you go exercise or walk the dog, that's a segment. When you sit down to do some emails or write some words or whatever it is, that's another segment. So I like to think of my day as being just a bunch of miniature segments. The crucial thing about segment blocking is that I never go from writing in one segment to writing again in that immediate next segment after. That can easily become a recipe for disaster. That can easily become a recipe for burnout and exhaustion and not even wanting to work on your projects because you feel like you have so much to do in this short block or this short segment of time. So I never go straight from writing, like a writing segment, to another writing segment. I always take a break, and usually it's multiple breaks. There are multiple segments in between my writing segments. So when we're talking about my writing segments, it tends to look something like this for just your average day. From 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., I work on my primary project. So that's 1 hour, probably around 1,000 words. My next writing segment is not until 4 o'clock p.m. and that one runs from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. So that's another hour, another 1,000 words, but that time I'm working on my secondary project. And then my third writing segment is 4 hours later, starting at 9 p.m. and going until 11 p.m. So that's a 2-hour segment where I'm working on my primary project again, so I get around 2,000 words down for that project. And honestly, what this is an energetic thing. So when I sit down and I write something, even if it's, you know, a nonfiction book and then I'm moving into a fiction writing segment, you're still carrying over the energy and the vibe and the mood and just the overall essence of that project into your next project. And that's something that I'm trying to avoid because I don't want the energy from a nonfiction project to be going into my fiction project. Like the two are very, very different. So that's exactly why I segment block, because I'm able to just focus on my primary project in the morning, write some words, then I go do a bunch of other stuff, kind of change my energy up so that when I sit down to write my secondary project, I'm in a different headspace, different vibe, different energy. I'm not carrying over that energy from the primary project. Then I basically repeat the cycle and switch up my energy again to get back into the headspace to work on my primary project in the evening. Now that's an example of my day because I am a full-time author and a full-time creative entrepreneur. So I literally write books and create content, podcasts, YouTube videos, courses, programs, all this kind of stuff. That's how my business is set up. So I'm able to have multiple segment blocks of writing time throughout the day. You may find that really you can only find one segment block for writing, and that's fine. Again, I just don't know if you're going to be able to work on 2 projects at once unless you do it each day. You alternate the projects. So day 1, you have your writing segment, you work on your primary project. Day 2, you have your one writing segment, you work on your secondary project, and then you switch back and forth. or maybe that's going to end up being too confusing. Really, at the end of the day, it's about finding, and I say this in all of my videos, is about finding a process and a routine that works for you and works for your brain. If you find that it's too confusing to work on 2 projects at once, then just don't do it. Focus on your primary project, get that done, and then move on to the next one. If you want to give this a whirl, try out segment blocking, see if it works for you. Have at it. Okay, so I am segment blocking right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and get you some B-roll for this video. I think I was talking quite a bit there, but I really hope that those tips helped you and that you find that you're able to at least try segment blocking and see if that works for you when it comes to working on 2 book projects at the same time. Before we jump into this B-roll, and before I forget, I am offering a sale on both Shadow Crown and Renegade Crew, this lovely duo. I think they're backwards. Both autographed copies for just 20 bucks if you live in the US. This is for domestic only. I have a limited number of books, so this is really going to be until supplies last, but I'm sure we all have a little bit more time on our hands while we are in this quarantine, and so I wanted to offer 2 books for $20. You can find the link in the description box below, or you can go to kristenmartinbooks.com/buy-books. And not to worry, I will be packaging all of these up in full quarantine protocol, so gloves, mask, the works. So don't you worry, they're going to arrive safely since I've been manhandling these. I won't be shipping these 2 out, but they will arrive safely and there will be as little human contact as possible to get your books to you. All right, so let's go ahead and dive on into this B-roll. So that is going to conclude today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up to support my channel. And don't forget to click that subscribe button as well as that little bell that will send you email notifications to your inbox whenever I upload new videos. If you're not already, make sure to follow me over on Instagram. My handle is author Kristen Martin. And for additional information on my books, courses, programs, and so much more, make sure to check out the description box below. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you more than you know, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!